Most people wake up and live by chance. They react to life instead of directing it. They want success, but they have no system for producing it. And so, their days are spent chasing the urgent instead of building the important. The person with a system may not look busy, but they're always moving forward. Because systems create order, and order creates progress. In this message, I'll show you how to build the kind of systems that make success inevitable. You'll learn why relying on motivation or willpower alone will always fail, and how simple daily structures can carry you farther than talent or ambition ever could. You'll understand how to design habits that move you steadily toward your goals, and how to remove the friction that keeps most people stuck in cycles of inconsistency. But before we continue, take a brief moment to subscribe and leave a quick comment, even one word. That small action helps the algorithm show this message to more people who need to hear it, and it tells me that these deep dives into timeless principles are worth creating. If you've ever started strong but lost momentum, if you've ever wondered why your goals fade faster than your enthusiasm, you're about to learn why and what to do about it. These are not theories. They are laws, simple, practical, and absolute. The truth is, most people don't fail because they lack desire. They fail because they lack structure. They start with inspiration, they dream with energy, but they wake each day without a clear system to guide them. So they repeat the same patterns, the same distractions, and the same frustrations, hoping for different results. A system is nothing more than a plan for consistency. It removes chance from the equation. It's the difference between the man who works with purpose and the one who merely stays busy. Because motion without direction is exhaustion. But motion guided by system becomes momentum. Once you understand how to design systems around your goals, your entire relationship with success changes. You stop hoping and start knowing. You stop chasing and start building. In this talk, I'll walk you through the process of building systems that make achievement natural. We'll explore how to design routines that align with your deepest goals, how to make progress automatic, and how to structure your life so success becomes a byproduct of order. We'll talk about the 4 great laws of systems: clarity, structure, consistency, and refinement. I'll show you how every system, whether it's for your work, health, finances, or personal growth, is built on these same principles. And when you begin to use them not occasionally, but daily, your results will no longer depend on mood, motivation, or luck. They'll depend on law. Because life, as I've said before, always responds to order. When your days are structured around purpose, progress becomes automatic. And the moment you experience that kind of order, you'll never want to go back to chaos. So, stay with me. Because by the end of these minutes, you'll know exactly how to design the kind of system that guarantees success not someday, but beginning today. Here's something most people completely miss. Success isn't caused by luck, by talent, or by a single moment of inspiration. It's caused by order. Every great life you can name, every enduring business, every invention, every masterpiece, every fortune, they all share one thing in common. They were built upon a system, a process, a deliberate structure that made progress predictable. Nothing worthwhile happens by accident. You can stumble into failure, but you can never stumble into success. It's always built. Now, this might sound simple, but it's one of the most powerful truths you'll ever hear. Success doesn't come from intensity, it comes from organization. From creating a repeatable pattern that turns small, consistent actions into great results over time. Systems are the invisible engines of achievement. They turn energy into progress and goals into outcomes. Without them, even the most brilliant ideas evaporate. The human mind, you see, works like a great factory. It's constantly producing thoughts, decisions, and results. But just like any factory, it must have a blueprint to follow a process that tells it what to produce and how to produce it. Without that plan, the mind wastes effort, time, and opportunity. It starts and stops, builds and tears down, reacts and hesitates. But once it's given a clear system, a structure of daily action and focus, it begins to produce extraordinary results, consistently and almost effortlessly. Think about it this way. You would never walk onto an empty plot of land, drop a pile of bricks, and hope that by some miracle they'll arrange themselves into a house. You'd need a plan, a design. Every wall, every beam, every window placed with intention. A builder knows that before the first nail is driven, the entire structure exists in order on paper. The blueprint doesn't just guide construction, it guarantees completion. Now imagine your life as that construction project. Every goal, every dream, every result you hope to achieve is a building. If you're working without a plan, without a system, what are the odds it'll ever stand the way you imagine? Most people live without blueprints. They wake each day reacting to whatever appears before them, rushing from one task to another, juggling endless responsibilities, thinking activity is progress. But activity isn't progress. Movement isn't momentum. Without direction, motion only leads to exhaustion. The person without a system works harder and gets less. The person with a system works steadily and achieves more. Let me give you another image. Picture a great factory floor. Every machine has its purpose, every motion, coordinated with the next. Raw materials enter one side, finished products emerge from the other. There's order, rhythm, sequence, everything happening as it should. That's what a system does. It ensures that your effort becomes output. But now imagine the same factory with no process machines running at random, workers acting on impulse, materials scattered, no schedule, no supervision. The noise would be deafening, the output minimal, the waste enormous. That's the difference between living with a system and living without one. Without order, effort leaks away through confusion. We start the day meaning to build something great, but because there's no structure, the hours scatter into distractions and interruptions. We end the day tired, busy, but strangely unfulfilled because effort without direction produces fatigue, not fulfillment. But once order is introduced, something remarkable happens. The same energy, the same time, the same mind now working within a system begins to create results that seem almost effortless. I often say, systems give shape to vision. They turn vague goals into structured progress. You may have a clear dream, but without a system, it remains a picture beautiful but unrealized. Systems are what bring that picture into focus. They turn the abstract into the tangible. They give you a way to move from idea to execution without relying on mood, willpower, or chance. Now, here's what most people miss: you already have systems. Everyone does. The question is, do they serve you or sabotage you? Your habits, your routines, your morning rituals, the way you handle money, the way you spend time, these are all systems. You may not have designed them consciously, but they're running every day, and those systems are producing your results. So, if you're unhappy with your results, you don't need to fix your life, you need to fix your system, because life always runs according to the processes we've put in place. And here's the great news: order can be created at any time. You can stop right now, look at any area of your life, and begin building the system that guarantees improvement. Because every successful life, every successful business, every meaningful achievement follows the same law. Create the system first, and success follows naturally. When you think about it, that's all success really is: organized behavior repeated over time. It's the habit of doing what most people do only occasionally, but doing it consistently, predictably, and purposefully. Systems make that possible. They turn discipline into ease. They turn goals into habits. They make the extraordinary ordinary. So if you've ever wondered why some people seem to advance steadily while others struggle and stall, it isn't luck, it's order, it's systems. It's the quiet discipline of following a structure that never fails. And once we understand that systems are the blueprint of success, the next step becomes obvious: we must build one. But before you can build a system that works, you must know what it's built for. You need a purpose, a direction, a definite aim. Because order without aim is just routine movement without meaning. And that's where we go next. Because once you have the blueprint, the next law comes into play, the law of clarity. Here's something that changed my life the moment I understood it: no system, no habit, no routine will ever work without a clear aim. You can't organize chaos unless you know what you're organizing it for. You can't build a bridge unless you know which shore it's meant to reach. Clarity is the foundation beneath all structure. It's the silent compass that directs every effort. And yet, it's the one thing most people never stop to define. Most people drift not because they lack ability, but because they lack direction. They're full of energy, full of ambition, full of movement, but they have no destination. They wake up each morning, pour their time and effort into activity, but they can't tell you precisely why. Ask them what they want, and they'll give you a list of wishes, not goals, vague hopes, not definite plans. I want to be successful, they say. I want to be happy. But success and happiness aren't destinations, they're results. And results require a cause. The cause is purpose. The moment you know why you're moving, your movement gains meaning. The moment you know what you're building, your effort gains structure. Without clarity, every system collapses. Now, here's what I mean by clarity. Clarity is the ability to describe exactly what you want in detail, in writing, with certainty, and to know why you want it. Because it's the why that gives life to the what. The clearer your purpose, the stronger your system. A man without clarity is like a ship without a captain. He may have a sturdy vessel, a strong crew, favorable winds, but with no destination, he'll drift endlessly in circles, pushed by every current and blown by every breeze. He'll mistake movement for progress, but never reach a port. You can see this principle everywhere. Look at the great companies, the great artists, the great inventors, the great leaders. All of them had one thing in common. They knew precisely what they were trying to create. Their purpose was definite, and every system they built served that purpose. The Wright brothers weren't experimenting for the sake of curiosity. They had a definite purpose: flight. Edison wasn't just tinkering, he was working toward light. Each system they designed, each test they ran, each failure they endured was organized around a single clear outcome. That's why their systems worked. Now, think about your own life. What is your definite purpose? What are your systems organized around? If you can't answer that question immediately, then your systems, no matter how clever or disciplined, will eventually run in circles. Because a system without purpose becomes routine without meaning. It becomes motion without direction, effort without joy. You can wake up every day, follow the same schedule, complete your tasks, and still feel hollow. That's the emptiness of a system that has lost its why. The difference between a man who works with purpose and a man who merely works is like the difference between a compass and a spinning wheel. The compass always knows where north is. It may shift, it may tremble, but it never loses its direction. The spinning wheel moves constantly, but it goes nowhere. And here's the irony: both are in motion. But only one arrives. Clarity transforms effort into efficiency. It tells your system what to produce. Without it, your energy scatters into 100 small things that mean nothing. With it, every action, no matter how small, becomes part of a greater whole. That's why I often tell people, never begin a day until you've decided exactly what it's for. Don't start building until you've drawn the plan. Don't set goals until you've written the purpose behind them, because once your purpose is clear, the system almost builds itself. Let me give you an image. Imagine a craftsman at his bench. In front of him lies a pile of raw material: wood, tools, nails, paint. Without a design, those materials are useless. He could work all day, cutting, hammering, sanding, and end up with nothing but a pile of scraps. But give him a clear blueprint, and each piece falls into place. The same tools, the same effort, the same hours, but a completely different result. That's what clarity does. It turns random activity into creation. Now, I want you to think about this truth for a moment. Every successful person has a written goal. Not a wish, not a thought, a written goal backed by a reason. It might be on paper, on a board, in a journal, but it exists because writing crystallizes thought. It takes a dream, floating in the imagination, and gives it weight. It turns it from a cloud into a compass. When you write down your goal, you begin to program your system, your mind, your habits, your daily actions to align with it. Without that clarity, your system has no target to serve. Now, clarity doesn't mean complexity. It doesn't mean knowing every step before you begin. It simply means knowing the direction. The path reveals itself as you walk it, but the direction must be fixed. If you know the destination, even a crooked road will take you there. But if you don't, even the straightest road will lead nowhere. And here's what's truly remarkable: once you define your purpose, once you say, "This is what I'm working toward, and this is why it matters," the mind begins to organize itself around that idea. You start noticing opportunities you used to overlook. You meet people who share your direction. You see connections where before you saw only coincidence. That's the power of clarity. It activates the system of the mind. It gives the subconscious a blueprint, and from that moment on, your entire being begins to move in harmony with it. So, if you've been working hard and seeing little progress, if your days feel busy but your results feel small, stop and ask yourself one question. What am I really working toward? Not what you think you should want, not what others expect, but what truly matters to you, because until you know that, no system in the world can help you. But once you do, even the simplest system will transform your life. Once your purpose is clear, the next step is to design a process that makes progress inevitable, a structure that carries you forward even when you don't feel inspired. Because clarity gives direction, but structure gives momentum. And that's where we go next to the law of structure, the third great law of systems. Now that we understand that, every successful life is built upon order, and that order itself begins with a clear and definite purpose. The next question becomes simple. How do we make that purpose real? How do we translate vision into motion, thought into habit, desire into daily action? And the answer is structure. Purpose gives direction, but structure gives progress. It's the system that turns the dream into the daily. Here's something most people never realize. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. You can have the most beautiful vision in the world, but without a process that supports it, that vision will fade into frustration. Goals inspire you, but systems carry you. They make success a routine instead of a rarity. They remove the need for constant motivation by replacing it with structure. You see, the mind loves clarity, but the body needs order. Without it, even the strongest desire eventually collapses under the weight of fatigue and distraction. A good system protects you from both. It removes the endless decisions that drain your willpower. It allows you to move forward automatically, because the path is already laid out. The secret of progress isn't working harder, it's organizing better. Think of the way a train moves along its tracks. Once the rails are set, the direction is certain. The train doesn't need to decide where to go each morning, it simply follows the structure already built beneath it. Structure doesn't limit movement, it makes movement efficient. Without the rails, the train would go nowhere at all. And that's how most people live off the rails, burning energy in every direction, moving without momentum, mistaking activity for achievement. But once you lay down the track, once you build a routine, a daily process, a rhythm, everything begins to flow. The same energy that once scattered now compounds. You stop fighting against yourself and start being carried by the momentum of your own design. Now, let me give you something to remember. Discipline becomes easy when structure exists. Most people think they lack discipline, when in fact, they lack systems that make discipline unnecessary. The disciplined person doesn't rely on willpower, they rely on structure. They don't wake up each morning wondering what to do, they already decided long ago. Their schedule is set, their path is clear, and because of that, their energy is reserved for execution. Structure removes friction, it turns intention into habit, it makes progress inevitable. Let's make this more practical. Instead of saying, I want to get in shape, build a structure. Decide that you'll exercise every morning at the same time. Instead of saying, I want to learn more, set a system. Study for 1 hour a day before work. Instead of saying, I want to be more organized, create a rule. Write down the 6 most important tasks for tomorrow every evening before bed. These are systems. They're small, repeatable actions that, when followed consistently, guarantee results. Here's the truth. Structure doesn't confine you, it frees you. It doesn't rob you of spontaneity. It gives you the peace of mind that allows you to enjoy it. Because when the essentials of life are handled by system, you're free to focus your creativity on what matters most. The person who lives without structure spends half their time recovering from yesterday. The person who lives by system moves forward automatically, and this is where most people go wrong. They confuse feeling productive with being productive. They jump from one goal to the next, starting new projects before finishing the old, living in cycles of excitement and burnout. They think they're chasing opportunity, but they're really running from structure. They want freedom, but they don't realize that freedom without form is chaos. The river flows because of its banks. The same force that would flood the land becomes power when it's contained. I often think of my old parable of the cold stove. Imagine a man standing before a stove on a cold morning. He says, "Give me heat, and then I'll add the wood." He waits, and nothing happens. The stove stays cold because the law has been reversed. You must add the wood first. Only then comes the heat. The same law governs life. You can't wait for results before you create the system that produces them. You can't wait for motivation before you act, because motivation comes from movement. The system must come first. The reward follows after. And here's what's beautiful. Once you've built your system, you don't have to start over every time your motivation fades. The structure does the work for you. You can step into it every day like a well-built machine, performing its duty quietly, consistently, without the need for constant inspiration. That's how you build momentum. You make progress automatic. Now, the structure of your system doesn't have to be complicated. In fact, the simpler it is, the better it works. Complexity creates resistance. Simplicity creates flow. Your system should fit you like a glove, natural, repeatable, and easy to maintain. If it feels forced, it won't last. If it feels clear, it will carry you. The best system isn't the one that looks impressive on paper, it's the one you'll actually follow. I've seen this law in every field, in every success story. The writer who produces a masterpiece doesn't wait for inspiration, he writes at the same time every day, no matter what. The athlete who dominates his sport doesn't train only when he feels like it, he follows the same disciplined schedule year after year. The business that thrives doesn't leave its success to chance. It builds systems that ensure results even when the owner isn't watching. Structure doesn't make them ordinary, it makes them exceptional. And once you've built that structure, once your systems are in place, life begins to feel different. You start to move with rhythm instead of strain. You stop doubting yourself because your process takes care of the progress. You no longer wonder whether success will come because you know that it must. The law of cause and effect is on your side. The wood is in the stove, and the fire has no choice but to burn. But even the best structure will fail without one final ingredient: consistency. Because the law of progress rewards persistence, not perfection. You don't have to do everything right, you just have to keep doing the right things long enough. And that's what we'll talk about next, the law of consistency, and how small, daily actions, practiced faithfully, build results that no burst of inspiration ever could. Once structure is in place, something remarkable happens. Life begins to settle into rhythm. The scattered energy that once leapt in every direction now moves in a single, steady line. You're no longer fighting yourself, no longer waking each day wondering where to begin. You begin to feel something new: momentum. It's quiet, but it's powerful. It's the reward of consistency. And here's what I've learned over a lifetime of observation: nothing, absolutely nothing, can replace consistency. Not intelligence, not luck, not talent, not charm, because consistency is the great multiplier of all other virtues. It's what turns effort into excellence, time into mastery, and dreams into reality. You can work hard once in a while and achieve very little, or you can work a little each day and achieve almost anything. The difference isn't intensity, it's persistence. Most people underestimate what they can do with small, daily actions because they can't see the results right away. They mistake invisibility for ineffectiveness. They plant a seed, glance at the soil, and because they don't see instant growth, they stop watering it. But success is like a crop, it follows the seasons. It grows according to the law of gradual increase. What begins invisible becomes inevitable. Let me tell you a truth that has never failed. Systems only work when maintained. The power isn't in starting them, it's in keeping them alive. A man can design the greatest system in the world, the perfect schedule, the ideal routine, but if he breaks it the moment he grows tired or discouraged, the system dies. Consistency is what breathes life into the system. Without it, order decays back into chaos. Think for a moment about how water shapes rock. Not through force, not through power, but through time. A single drop, falling over years, carves stone smoother than any chisel. The river doesn't rush, it simply keeps flowing, and yet, given time, that gentle persistence creates canyons. That's what consistency does. It carves your life into form. It sculpts your potential into reality. You see, repetition is the secret of mastery. Every great artist, athlete, inventor, or thinker has learned to live by this law. They've understood that success doesn't happen once, it happens daily. A writer writes even when uninspired. A craftsman hones his skill even when no one's watching. A student studies long after the exam has passed. The successful do not act from mood, they act from habit. And the habits they've built are simply systems maintained through consistency. Here's a simple example. If you were to improve by just 1% each day, a mere fraction of effort in 1 year, you'd be 37 times better than when you began. That's the power of compounding. But the reverse is also true. If you neglect just 1% each day, by year's end, you'll have nearly nothing left. Life is always compounding, either upward or downward. Consistency decides which direction you move. Now, many people confuse consistency with perfection. They think if they miss one day, they've failed. But that's not true. Success isn't about never missing, it's about never quitting. Missing one day is a stumble. Quitting is surrender. The secret is to begin again, as quickly as possible, without guilt, without drama, without excuse. The man who keeps starting again will always outrun the man who never begins. And here's the paradox: the longer you stay consistent, the easier it becomes. In the beginning, every action feels heavy. Every repetition feels forced. But soon, the system begins to move on its own. Habit takes over. What once required discipline becomes natural. The path that once felt steep becomes level, and you realize something profound. Consistency has transformed not only your results, but your character. I often think of the story of the penny that doubles each day for 30 days. On the first day, it's worth almost nothing. By the 5th, it's still trivial. But by the 30th, it surpasses $5 million. That's the law of consistency in action. Small efforts, compounded daily, produce results so extraordinary that those who gave up halfway can hardly believe what they missed. But to the one who stays, the one who keeps watering, keeps moving, keeps building, the rewards are inevitable, because success never arrives suddenly. It's always the visible effect of invisible consistency. What the world calls overnight success is merely the moment when consistent effort finally becomes visible. The harvest always looks sudden to the one who never saw the planting. And this law, once understood, changes everything. Because consistency removes the anxiety of results. You no longer have to worry about how or when success will come. You know that it must. You've planted the right seeds in the right soil, and you're watering them every day. Nature herself has taken over. You can rest in the peace of knowing that the outcome is certain. Now, I know how tempting it is to want variety, to seek excitement, to chase novelty. But the truth is, the extraordinary hides within the ordinary. The man who can repeat the same simple action with care, patience, and belief that man has discovered the secret of greatness. Every master is a servant of repetition. Every champion is built on the dull moments no one else wanted to endure. So, let me ask you this: what could your life look like if you simply refused to quit? If you chose one system, one goal, one direction, and followed it faithfully every single day, where would you be in a year, in 5 years, in 10? Because if you do that, if you build the habit of consistency, you'll discover that growth isn't something you chase. It's something that happens automatically. And that's what we'll talk about next: the law of refinement. Because once consistency becomes your nature, growth becomes inevitable. But growth, to last, must be guided. Systems, like people, must evolve, and in that evolution lies the final secret, the law of refinement, the quiet art of improving the process that brought you this far. By now, you've seen how success takes shape. It begins with order, grows through clarity, is built by structure, and maintained through consistency. But there's one final law, one that separates the temporary achiever from the lifelong builder. It's the law of refinement. Because no system, no matter how perfect it once seemed, can last forever without adaptation. Life itself moves forward, and the man who doesn't move with it eventually finds himself standing still. The great tragedy of success is not failure, it's stagnation. Many people reach a point where their systems once worked so well that they forget to improve them. They settle into routine and mistake repetition for growth. But the truth is, systems must evolve just as you do. What brought you here won't take you there. Every new level of achievement demands a higher order of refinement, a sharper process, a clearer focus, a deeper understanding of yourself. Refinement isn't reinvention. It's not about throwing away what works. It's about polishing it. It's about looking closely at your system, your habits, your processes, and asking, can this be done better? Can I remove friction? Can I improve precision? The best performers in every field, the artists, the entrepreneurs, the leaders, are rarely revolutionaries. They're refiners. They spend their lives making small adjustments that compound into greatness. The world sees the leap. They know it was built on 1,000 quiet improvements. Think of the craftsman sharpening his tools at dawn. The blade that built yesterday's masterpiece must be sharpened again before it builds tomorrow's. Not because it's broken, but because it's been used. The sharper the tool, the smoother the work. And that's true of every system. The more faithfully you use it, the more carefully you must maintain it. Dull tools waste energy. A dull system wastes life. Refinement is the art of attention. It's the habit of stepping back regularly, deliberately, to study what you've built and how it's working. It's asking yourself questions that most people never think to ask. Is this system still serving my purpose? Is my purpose still the same? Have my goals evolved, but my methods stayed the same? Because growth demands reflection. It demands humility, the willingness to say, I can improve this. You see, the law of refinement isn't about doing more, it's about doing better. It's about removing what's unnecessary and strengthening what's essential. When a sculptor carves a statue, he doesn't add clay, he removes stone. He strips away everything that doesn't belong until only the masterpiece remains. The same is true for your systems. With time, refinement becomes subtraction, the quiet removal of friction, waste, and distraction until only excellence is left. Now, let me give you a powerful image. Imagine a pilot flying across the ocean. His destination is fixed, but the winds, the weather, the currents, they're constantly changing. So what does he do? He makes constant, tiny corrections. He checks his instruments, adjusts his heading, and stays on course. To the untrained eye, the plane seems to move straight. But in truth, it's a dance of endless refinement, small, invisible actions, keeping it aligned with its purpose. Without those adjustments, even the slightest drift would take it thousands of miles off course. Life works the same way. Systems are your autopilot, but you are the pilot. You must stay aware. You must review, reflect, and refine. A system left unattended, like a plane on autopilot with no one at the controls, will eventually wander off track. The law of refinement keeps you aligned. It ensures that the system you once built to serve your purpose continues to serve the right purpose. And here's something else to remember. Refinement renews enthusiasm. It keeps your systems alive. When you take time to adjust, improve, and elevate what you do, you breathe new energy into old habits. The process stops feeling mechanical and becomes creative again. You begin to enjoy the quiet art of progress, the pleasure of doing something not just well, but better. Now, this is the point where most people resist. They say, why change what's already working? But that's the question that kills growth. Because success doesn't stop decay, it invites it. Comfort dulls awareness, familiarity numbs innovation. The system that once made you sharp can, over time, make you stagnant unless you keep sharpening. So review your systems the way a craftsman sharpens his blade. Not out of dissatisfaction, but out of respect for the work. Every few months, take time to evaluate your structure. Look at your habits. Examine your routines. Are they still producing the results you want? Are they aligned with your purpose as it stands today? You may find that some systems have run their course, that new ones are needed, that others need only a touch, a small adjustment to remove resistance. That's refinement. That's mastery. And here's the secret: the more you refine, the simpler your systems become. Complexity fades, clarity expands. You begin to see that success isn't about doing 1,000 things well, but about doing a few things perfectly and improving them continuously. That's what creates excellence, not dramatic reinvention, but gentle refinement over time. The truly successful person never asks, "How can I do more?" They ask, "How can I do this better?" That single question has changed more lives, built more fortunes, and created more peace of mind than any other. Because it leads to evolution without chaos, growth without burnout, and progress without waste. And when you live this way, refining, improving, adjusting, polishing, something beautiful happens. Your systems begin to mirror your growth. They evolve with you. They become more efficient, more aligned, more alive. You begin to see that your systems aren't separate from you, they are you, expressed in organized form. Your structure is your character made visible. And that brings us to the great truth. Success isn't built in a day, it's built every day, through systems that never sleep, systems that you design, refine, and maintain. Systems that carry your dreams long after emotion fades. The person who builds such systems never fears the future because they've built a process that creates it. And when you finally understand that, when you see the power of a life built on order, clarity, structure, consistency, and refinement, you realize that success isn't something you chase. It's something you design, one deliberate system at a time. And so we come full circle. You've heard the laws. You've seen how every success in life is the product of order, how every great achievement begins with clarity, how structure gives motion to purpose, how consistency transforms habit into mastery, and how refinement keeps growth alive. These are not theories. They are laws. They operate in every life, in every field, for every person who will obey them. The question now is not whether they work, the question is whether you will. Because the truth is this: life itself is a system. It's built on cause and effect, on order and law, on patterns that never fail. Everything in the universe runs according to system, the planets in their orbits, the tides in their rhythm, the seasons in their time. And so does success. When you build a personal system that aligns with these same natural laws, you come into harmony with the very structure of life itself. Things begin to move for you instead of against you. You stop pushing, struggling, and forcing, and you begin to flow. Success, then, is not something you chase. It's something you attract by the person you become, by the system you live within. That's why the man who understands systems never fears failure. He knows that if he keeps his system alive, if he maintains his order, his clarity, his structure, his consistency, and his refinement, success is guaranteed by law. It may take time, it may take patience, but the outcome is certain. Now, I want to leave you with a challenge, a simple one, but powerful enough to change the entire course of your life. For the next 30 days, stop chasing results and start building systems. Choose one goal, just one, and design a process around it. Write it down. Decide exactly what small actions you'll take each day. Then, no matter what happens, follow that process for 30 days without fail. Don't measure, don't analyze, don't rush, just stay with the system. If you miss a day, begin again the next morning. If you fail once, adjust, refine, and continue. Because if you'll do that, something extraordinary will. You'll begin to happen. You'll feel the quiet strength of order taking root in your life. You'll wake up with purpose instead of pressure. You'll start to see small results, then bigger ones, and soon you'll realize that success was never out of reach, it was only out of rhythm. The system restored the rhythm, and the rhythm produced the result. You'll also notice something else: peace. Because systems bring peace of mind. They eliminate confusion. They replace anxiety with certainty. You'll stop asking, "Will I succeed?" and start knowing, "I am succeeding." And that, more than anything else, is what every person truly wants: the calm assurance that they are moving in the right direction. Remember, life gives you what you demand of it, not in words, but in structure. Treat it casually, and it will give you casual results. Treat it seriously, and it will open its treasures to you. For the next 30 days, live deliberately, build your systems, think with clarity, act with consistency, refine with care. Do this, and you'll discover that your results begin to take care of themselves. And when that happens, when you see how simple the law truly is, how dependable it becomes, you'll never again view success as a mystery. You'll understand that there are no accidents, only outcomes. That life is exact, and that every result can be traced back to its process. That's when you'll see the beauty of it all, that success was never something to be found, it was something to be built, piece by piece, system by system, day by day. Now, when you're ready to understand the deeper principle behind everything you've heard today, when you want to see the great law that governs not only systems, but all of life, listen to the strangest secret. There, you'll learn why thought is the seed, why action is the soil, and why systems are the method by which the two combine to produce every harvest in life. It will show you the cause behind every effect, the reason behind every result, and the law that makes success not only possible, but inevitable. So remember, systems create order, clarity gives them purpose, structure keeps them steady, consistency gives them power, refinement keeps them alive. Build your systems, live within them, trust their rhythm, and life will reward you with the exact results you've earned. That's not a promise. It's a law. And the moment you begin to live by it, not once, not sometimes, but every day, that's the moment you stop hoping for success and start living it.